But fleet managers, what they do, what kind of job it is, and what is the salary potential when it comes to fleet management. Let's quickly have a conversation about that. So let me first explain to you what a fleet manager is. Okay, so a fleet manager actually takes charge of a fleet of vehicles and the drivers. So if you think about it, this is someone who actually helps you control your operations, that helps you plan your operations, that helps you have some efficiency, but also optimize optimization in terms of your vehicles and drivers. So I want to really insist on that. So when you think about a fleet manager, you're thinking about someone who actually comes like who interacts with two levels of operational activities: the drivers, but also the vehicles. So every company's fleet operations involve different tasks and challenges, but in general, fleet managers are responsible for profitability, driver management, and fleet maintenance. So you have a trifecta just to really think about. Profitability is really key. Okay. In other words, you want to make sure that the fleet is being used efficiently. Is there a way to find cost savings without hurting performance or safety, right? Things like gas prices or maintenance. A fleet manager can really help there. In terms of driver management, a fleet manager helps you, for instance, know how can driver schedules be optimized to avoid overworking, and how to stay in compliance with regulatory agencies, especially if you're doing something sensitive, if you're hauling sensitive loads. For instance, if you're doing hazmat, you're doing reefer, you're doing perishable goods, you're doing anything that has to do with that with high regulations. You also have fleet maintenance. So, what's the optimum maintenance schedule? Is it more cost effective to purchase new vehicles or increase preventative maintenance on an existing fleet? So a fleet manager can help you actually make those decisions. Now, of course, the three areas that I just listed for you, they're not an exhaustive list of all options. Those are just some examples of the issues that a fleet manager deals with, and how the fleet manager can add value to an organization through strategic decision making. So I explained to you what a fleet manager is. Now let me explain to you what a fleet manager does, right? Because what a fleet manager does on a day-to-day basis depends on a lot of things. Depends on the operational setup that you have. Depends on the size of your fleet. Depends on the types of vehicles that we have in your fleet. Okay, so those day-to-day tasks can actually vary. So, for example, one day you might be working on vehicle maintenance, while the next day you might be looking for ways to increase driver safety or fuel efficiency. So, again, everything depends on the specific company you're working for. So, if you're a fleet manager, you also need to focus on business profitability, including fuel consumption and fuel costs, without sacrificing driver happiness and efficient routes. I mean, driver happiness is quite essential. Like, this is so important. You want to make sure that drivers are actually happy. They are content. You know, they're really happy about working for your company. So, what are the duties and responsibilities of a fleet manager? Basically, you have to understand that fleet managers can take on many different roles depending on the needs of the organization, because everything starts with the needs of the organization. Every organization is different. Every load activity is different. So the fleet manager will be like the profile will be different. Let me give you a few common duties and responsibilities of a fleet manager. So you have fleet safety, you have fleet performance, you have fleet management itself, you have fleet maintenance, you have vehicle acquisition, and you also have driver performance. So when I say fleet safety, here you ensure that drivers and cargo are transported safely and in compliance with the regulatory requirements, such as OSHA, for instance, or other regulatory agencies. When I say fleet performance, you're able to optimize operational efficiency and ensure on time deliveries, perhaps using real time fleet tracking. You also have fleet management. So this is actually a big contributor to profitability and might require strategies like, let's say, an anti-idling policy and route optimization. You also have fleet maintenance, so control maintenance schedules. Here you are able to control maintenance schedules and vehicle inspections to actually minimize breakdowns and keep maintenance costs low. So you're maximizing fleet operational efficiency. You also have vehicle acquisition, so you want to track vehicles through their life cycle, decide on the right time to retire existing commercial vehicles or purchase new one. Okay, new ones depending on the organization's budget. So if you think about becoming a fleet manager or just what a fleet manager does, what key skills or core competencies does a fleet manager need? Because this is a job that actually requires a specific set of skills. So you got to have core competencies, okay, like education, interpersonal skills, organizational skills, problem solving skills, and software skills too. Okay, so I mean, I know you're probably thinking, well, what about software skills? I'm not asking you to have a fleet manager do some programming or coding. No, fleet management software and apps such as GPS tracking or an electronic login device, an ELD, are actually essential for productivity as a fleet manager. So you should understand how to fully leverage those programs when planning delivery routes and managing employees. So, one thing for sure, when it comes to education, interpersonal skills, organizational skills, problem solving skills, software skills, many of these skills can be learned. So, that's really important. So, if you're interested in becoming a fleet manager or creating this position within your company, be sure you are using the right resources. Okay. This includes investing in the right fleet management software and training programs. So this is something to really think about. And so when I say problem solving skills, for instance, you are looking at a way to solve all the challenges that will arise when you manage a fleet of vehicles and drivers, right? Brainstorming how to overcome these challenges while minimizing risks is important. And when I say organizational skills, think about it. Planning delivery routes, managing driver schedules, and controlling spending are all important parts of the job. And when I say interpersonal skills, well, this is self explanatory, right? Because being able to communicate effectively with your drivers and third parties is critical. People have to see you as accessible, people have to see you as approachable. Now, in terms of education, some fleet managers have a formal education, like a bachelor's degree or associate's degree. Although a degree is not necessary, it can help you grasp general business concepts like driver management, telematics, and ways to improve profitability. So, if you think about fleet managers, there is actually a way to increase your profile in the industry by becoming certified. Okay, so if you're interested in becoming a certified fleet manager, I mean, if you're interested in becoming a known fleet manager, like if you want to be known for your expertise, your thought leadership, or you just want to hire quality fleet managers, it's important to think about certification. Okay. Now, not all fleet managers need to be certified. Okay. I just want to, I want to clarify that. But many countries offer programs that can give you credentials and help you grow into your position. The whole idea here is to add value to your organization, right? If you want to add value to your organization, you want to really make sure you can help optimize the company's operations, like let's say more efficiently. Highly. A certification can really help you. Now, these programs vary by country. I'm speaking about certification programs. So, for example, if you are in the U.S. has a program through a NAFA that leads to a certified automotive fleet manager, the CFM, or a certified automotive fleet specialist, CFS title. Okay, so NAFA does have a partnership with the Brazilian Light Duty Fleet Association that provides certification programs throughout South America. So you have see when you think about certification, you're thinking about what I call education, right? So you want to have a situation where you as a fleet manager or your fleet managers are learning in a lifelong manner. Now, concepts you can expect to learn about include asset management, general business and finance topics, proper maintenance, software and information technology, professional development, minimizing risks, and refueling optimization. I mean, refueling is really a key when it comes to fleet management. So the bottom line is that becoming certified can really help you grasp, let's say, many of the concepts and responsibilities that you will see every single day. So this is really important. So if you think about fleet managers, there is actually a difference between local and long haul national fleets because, I mean, not just because of the geography, but also in terms of the scope and depth of operations, the scope and depth of, I mean, the depth and breadth of operations, the breadth and depth of loads, the depth and breadth of the regulation that you have to deal with. Okay, so supply chain management for local and long haul fleets differs significantly. Let me explain why. If you have a local fleet, you often focus on last mile deliveries, getting goods from a local distribution center to the end customer, right? So that's pretty straightforward. Nothing really complicated here. So when you have a last mile deliveries, you are speaking about shorter routes, more frequent stops, and a greater emphasis on time sensitive deliveries. Let's say your customers want to get their food delivered by 6 p.m. or like every day or 12 p.m. whatever. Okay, so there is no need to plan overnight travel or to pay a meal stipends or other travel fees if you are dealing with supply chain management for local fleets. That's for local fleets. What about long haul fleets? Okay, now long haul fleets, on the other hand, by the way, long haul fleets include OTR. Okay, so long haul fleets are responsible for transporting goods over long distances, often between cities or even countries. I mean, you can actually have drivers actually going from the U.S. to Canada or Mexico or other countries, for instance. Okay, so long haul fleets involve longer routes, fewer stops, and a focus on fuel efficiency and vehicle maintenance to offset higher operational costs. So there are usually also more onerous, like expensive regulatory compliance requirements, which may differ from state to state. So in this case, a fleet manager needs to be familiar with labor laws when creating driver schedules, and the manager will probably also need more sophisticated fleet management solutions. So something to really think about, especially from a scalability point of view. So if you think about fleet managers, let me really talk to you quickly about a day in the life of a fleet manager and how a fleet manager can help optimize operations fast. Okay, so one thing for sure, it can be difficult to visualize the day-to-day tasks of a fleet manager because every fleet manager is different, and the company they're working for is also different. Okay, so now keep in mind that the tasks I will be giving you, okay, can vary based on demand and company needs. Everything is about demand. Everything is about company needs. So about 20% of a typical day is spent building and maintaining relationships with drivers and third parties. So you are looking at, give or take, you're looking at 1 to 2 hours. 1 to 2 hours, you'll be spending that just talking to people. Okay, so that means that you are relying on effective communication and interpersonal skills to maximize both customer and driver experience. Okay, and next you can expect about 2 to 3 hours of your day to focus on compliance with various regulatory agencies. So you're looking at OSHA, for instance. You're looking at other regulatory agencies, depending on the niche that you're in. Okay, depends on the loads that you're hauling. Okay, and so that's really good. And so when it comes to dealing with the regulatory agencies, this could be reviewing the Department of Labor's scheduling requirements when creating driver routes, or understanding the tax implications associated with the procurement of a new vehicle, right? So you got to really make sure that you are paying attention big time, or maybe just having some kind of Department of Transportation DOT like regulation. Now, the remainder of your day will be allocated to general operations and route planning. So that's about 4 to 5 hours. Here, you will optimize driver schedules and focus on fleet management and maintenance. And also, as a fleet manager, you got to work in conjunction with drivers to avoid delays and prevent late deliveries. So, when it comes to when it comes to let's say let me when it comes to handling operations, a, a fleet management system will be beneficial. So, with this resource, you'll be able to pinpoint vehicle locations, monitor fuel efficiency, for instance. So that's really good, and also track driver productivity. So if you think about the fleet managers, the future actually is pretty rosy. I mean, some people thought that with the advent of AI, fleet managers will disappear. No, you still need someone to talk to drivers. AI is not going to talk to drivers. I mean, you want somebody to have a real conversation with drivers, somebody to really optimize drivers' lives, drivers' jobs. Okay. So the role of fleet managers is actually evolving with the help of tech advancements, that's for sure. So what happens here is that there is an increased demand for data analytics to be worked into the day-to-day tasks of a fleet manager. So what happens here is that a fleet what happens is that a fleet manager has to become conversant with those analytics. And so when I say becoming conversant, this could be let's say using strategic forecasting to predict demand, or infusing data analytics into the procurement decision making process. And these changes require fleet managers to adapt to effectively perform their duties in several ways. Okay, for instance, you have infusing data analytics and forecasting into day-to-day tasks, effectively communicating and collaborating with all team members, from delivery drivers to C-suite executives. So that's really good from a flexibility point of view. You are able to make recommendations that minimize market risk and prioritize opportunities for industry changes. You want to identify beneficial technology, telematics, and sustainability efforts. So that's really good also in terms of flexibility. And you are able to stay informed on legislative changes and their impact on the organization. So not only can you really get this job done, but also improve your own skill set. But you have to understand that the market is moving forward. Okay, no one can fully predict what the future holds for fleet managers. That's for sure, right? But the position becomes more relevant with the rise of e-commerce, for instance. That means that you might need to adapt your skill set to the online economy. Okay, you need to understand that there could be challenges that are coming with some sections of the economy, and you just need to find the right way to adapt to those challenges. So as a coda into this conversation, I spoke to you about fleet managers. I explained what a fleet manager does. Okay, what are the duties and responsibilities? How to become a fleet manager, a certified fleet manager, and the difference between local hauling versus long hauling, or let's just say, yeah, long hauls. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.